Scott Morrison and Angus Taylor are announcing in the next half hour that $500 million will be committed in next month's budget to controversial carbon storage technologies and hydrogen technologies. Mr Taylor was on about this with Peter Stefanovic this morning.
Well, we want to get to net zero and we want to do it by 2050. We've made no bones about that. But the real challenge here is how to do it. And Australia has an extraordinary track record on reducing emissions. We'll continue to do that. But I tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to destroy jobs. We're not going to cut the cord on regional communities. We're not going to shut down industries.
So this announcement comes ahead of the virtual Global Climate Summit the PM is participating in on Thursday and Friday nights, where he is under pressure to reduce emissions in Australia, with Britain just committing to a 68% cut from 1990 levels by 2030, 78% they're expected to announce by 2035, and the US pressing for more action. In fact, it's been reported in America that the US will commit to halving 2012 emissions by 2030, cutting them in half. President Biden has brought together 40 world leaders, with China's Xi Jinping also confirming his attendance, and those leaders are responsible for 80% of the world's emissions. Australia's committed to cutting 2005 emissions levels by 26 to 28% by 2030, and this graph shows you that we've committed to less than half what the UK has, given our 2005 level was about the same as our 1990 level. Britain, incidentally, has reduced emissions by 40% already since 1990, mostly through replacing coal-fired power stations with wind and solar farms. Their Climate Change Commission says to meet a target for a 78% reduction by 2035, Britons would have to eat 25% less meat. Boris Johnson has also promised a hydrogen-heated town by 2030. Now, Australia has committed to an aim, not a target just yet, of zero net emissions by 2050. Anthony Albanese, the opposition leader, has committed to a target. Scott Morrison is keen to use the slogan technology, not taxation, at every turn, and we should count how many times that happens in this looming press conference. But Scott Morrison has to balance his ability to wedge Labor as being anti-coal in Queensland and keeping the Nationals happy with his wish to be on side with the international community on climate change. What a challenge. Here he is throwing an expensive bone to Matt Canavan and pro-coal MPs with this carbon capture and storage commitment, although it was also a technology pushed heavily by former Chief Scientist Alan Finkel. We all know that Kevin Rudd sunk more than $1 billion into carbon capture and storage, and it has not really gone anywhere because it's a difficult technology to get to work. I was told this morning that the geology of New South Wales, for example, makes it impossible to get working in that state.